Colin McRae Rally 2.0 was one of the first racing games I've ever played in my life. It came out 25 years ago and it gave me some of the fondest memories ever. I loved the graphics, I loved the handling, I loved everything about this game. Some time ago my curiosity hit me. I wanted to find out what other people think about this game. It turns out other people love this game more than I do. Some of them even said that this game is the king of rally games. The king of rally games, huh? Now that's quite a title. I had to play the game again after hearing that. I was lucky enough to find my old dusty copy of the game. You know what happened next. I installed the game and I've played all of it. It's been 25 years since I've played the game and it has also been 25 years since the game came out. Does the game still hold up? I think we should ask a better question. How good is Colin McRae Rally 2.0 really?
Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it.
Okay, Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 was developed and published by Codemasters in the year 2000. Every single rally game fan knows this, so let's skip the not important stuff and let's start the proper analysis by talking about the graphics. Obviously, a 25-year-old game isn't going to look very good today, so we should compare it to other racing games that also came out in the year 2000. But before we can do that, we have to analyze the graphics from two different perspectives: the clarity perspective and the aesthetic perspective. Let's start with the clarity. Low quality textures, low quality effects, particle effects are minimalistic, and graphical shortcuts. For example, the tree line is just a simple texture. That's pretty bad, huh? Well, it's not all bad. The skyboxes are high quality, so are the car models, and even the lighting is pretty decent. So yeah, the game doesn't look that great when it comes to clarity, but aesthetically, I would argue that aesthetically it still holds up. The environments are full of detail, they are also very easily distinguishable, and you get that real rally feeling when you're racing. Even the main menu design is amazing. No, seriously, whoever designed the main menu for this game deserves an award. What kind of award though? I don't know, maybe a gold trophy, or a lot of money. Okay, but what about that comparison I mentioned earlier? Well, let's compare the graphics of this game to the graphics of other racing games that also came out in the year 2000. Taxi to Lejo, yeah, forgive me for my bad pronunciation. Same for this next one, Michelin Rally Masters Race of Champions, V-Rally 2, Paris Marseille, Paris Marseille Racing, Pro Rally 2001, Q3 Rally, and Insane. Oh yeah, and there's also that one Need for Speed game that focuses on a specific car brand. I would argue that for the time, Colin McRae Rally 2.0 looked better than most of those games I've just mentioned. The only ones that are arguably better graphically are Pro Rally 2001 Insane and that one Need for Speed game I've mentioned earlier. But at the same time, both Insane and Pro Rally 2001 have worse aesthetics. They only do some things better graphically. As for that one Need for Speed game, I would say it's on par with Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Maybe it has something to do with the graphical options the game gives you? I don't know. Oh yeah, the graphical options. Remember when PC games didn't let you customize graphical options? Or the graphical options were limited at best? Yeah, Colin McRae Rally 2.0 is one of those games. The game supports widescreen resolutions, there is anisotropic filtering labeled as a MIP map option in advanced graphics, and the game supports high frame rates, so the gameplay is going to be smooth. And that's it. Okay, time for the problems. Every widescreen resolution in this game is stretched. Horribly stretched. Those stretched resolutions make everything wide. So wide that you can't see anything. You can see your car, but you can't see the road you're driving on and the environment. This is annoying, and I never want to play racing games like this. If you're one of those people that like playing racing games in borderless full-screen windowed mode, you can't do that. Why? Because there's no anti-aliasing, VSync is forced on, although you won't really notice it all that much, and the worst issue of all, there's no FOV slider. Man, the PC version sure has a lot of problems. And yes, I'm playing the PC version. The PS1 version is actually worse. Worse graphics, worse resolution, and worse everything. Oh, and just so we're clear, no, the PS1 version isn't atrocious, it's just worse than the PC version in every single way. Granted, the PS1 version of the game was the first version of the game, and the PC version is basically the fixed version of the PS1 version. So, yeah. I mean, the PC version of this game is one of those cases where the developer went the extra mile with the PC version, rather than just porting the PS1 version in higher resolution, as they supported 32-bit colors and improved textures and more. Despite this, the PC version still has a lot of problems. Just in case I need to repeat myself, stretched widescreen resolutions, no borderless full-screen windowed mode, if you are one of those gamers that like playing games in that mode, no anti-aliasing, forced VSync, although like I've said, you won't really be able to tell, and no FOV slider. But fear not, almost all of those issues can be fixed with one workaround. And that workaround is called the Silent Patch. The Silent Patch is a fan-made patch developed by a modder that goes by the name of Silent. The Silent Patch is based on the 1.11 patch for Colin McRae Rally 2.0. The Silent Patch adds support for widescreen and other aspect ratios, including windowed and borderless modes, and it also improves compatibility with modern systems. This means that the widescreen resolutions are no longer stretched, and you can use the windowed and borderless modes, as mentioned earlier. And before you ask, yes, this patch allows you to change the FOV. It's also very easy to install. This patch comes with an ini file. All you have to do is drag and drop the ini file into the installation folder, then you have to customize the ini file to your liking and you're good to go. Or are you? You see, there are some things that even the silent patch can't fix. You know, no anti-aliasing, forced VSync, huge FPS drops on modern systems, and low quality car models and textures in multiplayer and arcade mode. You have to use different workarounds for those issues. For the no anti-aliasing problem, you have to use a DirectX wrapper called DigiVoodoo2. PC Gaming Wiki has a detailed tutorial on how to use it, so I'm not going to explain it here. Just go to the PC Gaming Wiki and find the tutorial there. The same tutorial can be used for the huge FPS drops on modern systems problem. When it comes to low quality car models and textures in multiplayer and arcade mode, there is a mod called CMR2HQ Cars mod. Just download the mod, copy, or should I say back up your original files from the installation folder, and then copy the contents of the mod from the zip file and then paste it to the installation folder and overwrite the files. As for the forced VSync, yeah, there's no workaround for that. Oh, and before I forget, like I've said before, the game does have anisotropic filtering. But what I didn't say is that it can be further improved by forcing it through your GPU control panel. Let me describe the game optimization in few sentences. The game didn't crash, at least for me, even without the silent patch, but it suffers from huge FPS drops on modern systems. Again, there is a workaround for that on the PC Gaming Wiki. So if you want to play the game on your PC without any major issues, install the silent patch. Man, this section of the video took way longer than I expected. With that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's talk about the story. Now, before you leave an angry comment saying, "Rally games don't have stories." Yes, I know they don't have stories. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 is one of those games. Man, that was a good response. I should give myself a round of applause for that. Before I move on to the next section, I should quickly mention that in this game you play as yourself and you are racing against Colin McRae himself and other opponents as well, and you're trying to win against them. I guess that's the story for you. You've probably noticed why I've called myself Bit. Why did I call myself Bit, huh? Well, I didn't call myself that, actually. The game took my PC name. Yeah. I'm bringing this up because I usually call myself PatrykThePro or PTP in racing games. But this game didn't let me call myself PTP or PatrykThePro. But okay, that's the story for you. And by that I mean there's no story. So let's move on and let's talk about the gameplay. Let's start with the general gameplay loop. You start your adventure by choosing a car, some basic settings, and then you're trying to get first place in 8 locations. That's the too long didn't read kind of description. Let's talk about the small details now. Before you start your adventure, you can also choose which mode do you want to play. Maybe you want to play the arcade mode, aka rally cross racing. Maybe you want to go for something more traditional like the championship mode. The choice is yours. When you've made your choice, you can either create a new profile, or you can play as one of the in-game drivers, or you can even play as a guest. Let's go over some differences between the game modes. In the arcade mode, you can race against other drivers. You can see them, you can interact with them, you can mess them up if you want to, and your opponents can also do those same things to you. Also, the roads you're racing on in arcade mode are supposed to be the same as the ones in the championship mode, but I swear they are a little bit wider, just a little bit. And as you would expect, you always go through a set number of stages. How does this compare to the championship mode? Well, championship mode is basically a glorified time trial. But unlike all of those time trial modes in other games, you don't set a new time, you're just trying to beat someone else's time. Personally, I can't complain about this. Every single rally game worked like this in one way or another. The roads in this mode can vary, more on them later, and the difficulty you choose also affects the amount of stages you have to go through in a specific location, or just all locations. For example, if you're playing on novice difficulty, you have to go through 4 stages per rally. If you're playing on the intermediate difficulty, you have to go through 8 stages per rally, and if you're playing on expert difficulty, you have to go through all stages per rally. It's also worth noting that the expert difficulty is locked by default when you start the game. You have to complete the game on at least the intermediate difficulty to access the expert difficulty. Honestly, the expert difficulty is worth unlocking because the expert difficulty in this game offers something that other rally games don't. Even Richard Burns Rally, the WRC games, and even other games in the Colin McRae Rally franchise / the Dirt franchise just don't have it. Are you ready for this? A full 3-day rally event. And that explains the general gameplay loop. Now let's analyze something that you actually care about, other stuff. The damage model is up first. I have mixed feelings about the damage model, simply because this is another clarity versus aesthetics situation. As you would expect from this kind of game, this game has both the visual damage and the mechanical damage. It really pains me to say this, but I personally think that the visual damage is dated. But I will give credit where credit is due. Back in the year 2000, the visual damage model looked amazing. The car gets dents, scratches, windows can be broken, spoilers and bumpers can hang by a thread, they can even be destroyed completely, as in they can completely detach from the car. However, it's all static and basic texture work. When you're speeding, you hardly ever notice the broken parts actually being affected by the speed. It is kind of noticeable, it's just not very noticeable, that's all. Furthermore, you don't get to see any effects for this. For example, a bumper hanging by a thread doesn't produce sparks when hitting the ground. Or at the very least, the part of the bumper that actually hits the ground doesn't produce sparks. Also, I know that this isn't exactly a part of the visual damage, but it's notable that Codemasters hadn't got the excellent looking wet weather windscreen effects in place yet, nor even any attempt to make the wet stage look wet. Where am I going with this? Well, I just find it really funny that I can see that the mud splatter effect covers the bodywork but not the windows. But hey, it's not all bad. Like I've said before, the visual damage model looked great in the year 2000. So yeah, the visual damage nowadays has aged, but mechanical damage? I would say that the mechanical damage still holds up. First and foremost, the mechanical damage affects the car's handling. It makes the handling understeery and sometimes more unpredictable. The car accelerates slower and the top speed is lowered. The more you damage the car, the worse it drives. This is great because the game encourages you to stay cautious at all times. Not to mention the damage you receive carries over to the next stage. Well, for a while anyways, more on that later. Each mechanical part has several stages of damage. If one part or several parts are in the low stages of damage, you probably won't be able to tell. The car still behaves like it's brand new. But if that set part or several parts are in the high stages of damage, you might have a hard time trying to win stages. What can I say? The visual damage model is dated simply because the game is 25 years old and the mechanical damage model still holds up. But enough about those damage models. Now let's talk about the physics. The physics in this game feel just right. They are also very complex, and if I had to explain them in detail, I would be sitting here forever, so I'll give you the too long didn't read version. Despite the fact that the game is arcadey, the cars have weight to them. Everything feels like it's planted to the ground. And since the cars have weight to them, there's also a good amount of downforce. You can easily notice it when you're driving a car that has a spoiler. The gravity is also well implemented. Every time you jump from a jump, the car floats for less than half a second and then quickly touches the ground. And the best thing about this? The landings feel impactful. Many rally games get the physics wrong, but this game nailed it. So yeah, like I've said before, the physics feel just right. Now let's talk about the handling. The handling, just like the physics, feels just right. The handling in rally games needs to be responsive in order to be good. Thankfully, the handling in Colin McRae Rally 2.0 is exactly that. Responsive. Every time you press left or right in order to turn left or right, actually turns the car left or right as you would expect. There's no input lag or any kind of lag when turning. It even feels responsive on a keyboard. No, seriously, play this game with a keyboard. It feels really good. Another great thing about the handling is the fact that the game takes two aspects of it and balances them out. This means that 99% of the time the handling is grippy and, well, the end part is kind of tricky to explain. You see, most tracks in the game have different surface types, and each surface type gives you a slightly different handling. What I mean by that is the handling is grippy, but the end part, which I was talking about not too long ago, can be anything. It can be twitchy, it can be slidey, or it can even be uncontrollable depending on your car settings. For example, the handling in Finland can be grippy and twitchy, the handling in Sweden can be grippy and slidey, and so on and so forth. This is basically the game telling you that the handling isn't always the same, and you have to adapt to those small changes right on the spot, and I'm all for it. But it gets better. Every car feels different, and the weather and the damage model also affect the handling. You need to not only understand the feel of every car in the game, but you also need to drive carefully and pay attention to the weather. Overlooking those things can cost you a race, especially on higher difficulties. But wait, it gets even better. You can change your car settings. When the game actually allows you to do so, that is. You can usually change your car settings in service areas. Those service areas allow you to change stuff like tires, suspension, brakes, steering, gear ratio, and more. Every setting has a huge impact on car's performance and handling. Once again, this is fantastic because the game lets you experiment with different car settings. Some settings can even negate the negative effects of some surface types. It all boils down to this: choose the right settings and you'll be able to win stages without any problems. Choose the wrong settings and, well, you might as well say bye-bye to that gold trophy you're trying to get. Alright, what's left? Oh yeah, the cars and the tracks. Let's start with the cars and the car selection. The car selection in this game is varied but not as strong as later games in the franchise. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 has a total of 14 cars. Yes, 14. I'm not counting cars with different liveries. Those are the same cars, just with different liveries. But if I did count the cars with different liveries, then the game has almost 30 cars. The cars themselves look fantastic, feel fantastic, and sound fantastic. They all handle differently, they can easily reach high speeds, and most importantly, you get that satisfaction when you drive them. Oh, and also with the right settings, you can turn those cars into rockets. I do have one nitpick, however. Almost every single car, or should I say, basically every single car is overshadowed by the Subaru. Subaru is just a beast of its own. Let's just say there's a reason why everyone picks the Subaru in this game. The Subaru in this game has perfect top speed, perfect acceleration, and perfect handling. Seriously, if you're playing this game for the first time ever, use the Subaru. It's really good. Other than that, I can't complain about those cars. They are amazing. Now let's talk about the tracks. More specifically, the track design and the locations. There are 8 locations in this game, or 9 locations if we also include the challenge mode. The locations in this game are Finland, Greece, France, Sweden, Australia, Kenya, Italy, the UK, and Japan. Every single location offers a different surface type. However, some locations share the same surface type. For example, the surface type you'll find in Finland is gravel, Greece has rough gravel, France has tarmac, Sweden has snow and ice, Australia has pea gravel, Kenya has both tarmac and gravel, Italy has tarmac, the UK has tarmac, gravel and mud, and Japan has both gravel and tarmac. Every location has something to offer. For example, in the UK you can find obstacles on the road, and in Italy you're racing on cliffs. One side of the cliff is always protected, but the other side isn't, which means if you fall down, you will not be able to recover. And by fall down, I mean fall down the cliff, of course, in case I wasn't clear. So the locations are great, but what about the tracks themselves? The tracks are just as amazing as the locations. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 offers both the wide and straightforward tracks, and it also offers narrow and tight courses. Sometimes the game gives you a mix of both track types, so wide roads and tight courses, and narrow roads on straightforward tracks. You know what I'm about to say. It's fantastic. But do you know what's the best part about those tracks? The elevation. More specifically, the changes in elevation. Those elevation changes make the tracks so dynamic and so fun. Sometimes you feel like you're climbing a mountain with your car, and sometimes you just feel like you're going extremely fast by going downhill. Amazing stuff. Codemasters really thought about their players when they were designing those tracks. Every turn is visible. The code driver and the game gives you tips on how you should take corners, and cornering itself feels very rewarding in this game. Everything feels just right. Everything just clicks. And I wish I could skip the part of the video where I talk about the bad qualities of the game. But unfortunately I can't skip that part, so it's time to talk about the bad qualities of Colin McRae Rally 2.0. There's only one thing I can complain about, and that thing is the car settings. Now hear me out, like I've said before, the car settings are great because the game encourages you to change them. Or should I say, the game encourages experimentation. But there's a problem with that. You see, the game doesn't tell you what you're actually changing. The game never explains to the player what change is affecting what. What does that mean, you ask? It means that you never know if you adjusted your car settings correctly. That's bad, especially in the championship mode. How do you know if you've made the right changes or not if the game never tells you that? Well, you change your settings, you continue the championship mode, and then you pray that you chose the right settings. That's the only thing I really don't like about this game. And since that's the only thing I don't like about the game, I can finally end this section of the video and just move on. Okay, now we can finally answer the question. How good is Colin McRae Rally 2.0 really? It's very good. Actually, no. It's better than very good. It's a classic of rally gaming. Amazing graphics for the year 2000, amazing damage model, amazing physics, amazing handling, amazing cars, amazing tracks. Everything about this game is amazing. Sadly, there's one thing that's not amazing, and what's that one thing that's not amazing? Well, it's the fact that the game is an abandonware. You can't buy it anywhere. If you want to play the game, you have to either look for a physical copy, which is very hard because physical copies of this game are rare nowadays, or you have to look for the game somewhere on the internet. Personally, I suggest going to myabandonware.com, not sponsored, and you'll be able to find the game there. Just follow the instructions and you'll be able to download the game and then install the game. And honestly, I strongly suggest you do that. Just download it and then install it. Trust me, it's a must play for all racing game fans.
But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Just me.